Cars, trucks, and automobiles. All of these are ubiquitous. All of these require oil. Oil is extracted from the ground. One man rose above all else and gained radical riches refining this oil. This is the story of John D. Rockefeller's tumultuous rise to radical riches. Rockefeller's story to becoming the titan of the industry was full of both many triumphs and tragedies, even from the moment he was born. He was born on July 8, 1839, to Eliza Davison and William Rockefeller. His family consisted of William, Frank, Marianne, Cornelia, Clorinda, Francis, and Lucy Briggs Rockefeller. Born on a farm in Richford, New York, they were not poor, but not rich either. His father was a pitchman who went around the country selling his products. This can be seen as a tragedy because he was rarely at home and didn't support his family. Rockefeller's mother was the one often caring for the family with the help of older siblings taking care of the younger kids. Rockefeller's siblings and mother also moved a lot. They moved a total of 3 times before finally settling down in Ohio. Rockefeller was a devoted Baptist at a young age. He joined the Euclid Baptist Church near Cleveland. This led to his generous personality later on in his life. He started making money as a young boy selling candy to other children. Later, his first real job was at a produce firm that sold all kinds of agricultural products. He soon earned a good reputation at the Hewitt & Tuttle produce firm.
Rockefeller then established his own firm with Morris Clark and Samuel Andrews. With a startup loan from his father, which was a total of $1,000, all went well for a time and the company grew, but then trouble brewed in the company. Clark was angered that the management wasn't running how he wanted it. Arguments arose and the 5 businessmen decided that whoever bid the highest for the company would get the company.
Rockefeller bought out everyone else with a whopping $72,500. Clark, in anger, left the company. As a result, Rockefeller and Samuel Andrews started the company again in the name of Rockefeller and Andrews.
Rockefeller was smart in his quest for riches. He knew that fracking oil was inconsistent and included high risk, so he decided to refine it. At the beginning of his refining venture, Rockefeller got help from the railroad tycoon Cornelius Vanderbilt, who agreed to carry and distribute his oil. This helped Rockefeller as he got transportation from Vanderbilt and he got a discounted rate.
In 1872, Rockefeller's company controlled all refineries in the Cleveland area and a few others in New York. His company also grew to the point to which they were refining 29,000 barrels of oil every day and also included a cooper's workshop for building barrels. From the perspective of Rockefeller, this was a triumph as he had control over a very lucrative industry. From the perspective of the oil industry, this was disastrous, as any worthy competitors to Rockefeller were absorbed into his company, leading to the price of kerosene, which was what most of the oil was refined into, to decrease drastically.
By 1882, Rockefeller merged all the assets of the Standard Oil Company into Standard Oil Trust. The starting revenue gained by this new trust was $70 million. This marked a triumph in his life as he gained tremendous capital. This time he was thought to have a net worth of $336 billion in today's money. The tremendous wealth Rockefeller had accumulated attracted attention from journalists named muckrakers. One such journalist was Ida Tarbell, who published a book. She wanted to let the world know in her book of Rockefeller's true intentions.
This created a negative view of John D. Rockefeller. Ida Tarbell wrote these allegations. Rockefeller and his associates did not build the Standard Oil Company in the boardrooms of Wall Street banks. They fought their way to control by rebate and drawback, bribe and blackmail, espionage and price cutting, by ruthless efficiency of the organization.
This tremendous wealth led to a tragedy in his life as the state and federal governments enacted new legislation against his trust. The first of the legislation was in 1892 when the state of Ohio decided to dissolve the trust. To escape this, Rockefeller shifted operations to New Jersey. However, later in 1911, the Supreme Court ruled that the trust had violated the Sherman antitrust laws enacted in the early 1890s.
At age 57, Rockefeller decided to retire from the day-to-day matters of his company. He then started repurposing his enormous capital for many philanthropic purposes. This new chapter in his life is a triumph in his life and the lives of many others.
David Rockefeller, John D. Rockefeller's grandson, recognizes his grandfather's generosity and benevolence in this interview.
To do more, and of course he created the Rockefeller Foundation and the Rockefeller Institute, both of which have turned out to be major philanthropic institutions, but probably felt that this was his major achievement and major obligation. As he got more money, he gave more.
His philanthropic endeavors started by donations to the Baptist Church and many African American educational ventures, the later of which he considered a life goal. Another time he showed his benevolence was through his support of the University of Chicago by donating vast sums.
His philanthropic ventures did not stop there, as he supported numerous causes ranging from his own medical research institute to his sanitary commission. He continued distributing his vast fortunes until his death. Rockefeller peacefully passed away in Ormond Beach, Florida, in the early hours of May 23, 1937.
John D. Rockefeller's legacies do not live on only in idealistic examples, but also concrete examples like the Rockefeller Institute, the Rockefeller Foundation, and his own son, John D. Rockefeller Jr., who was also a philanthropist and followed his father's path. He also created a progeny that continued the works and made the rest of the world know about Rockefeller's potential.
The tragedy in John D. Rockefeller's life is that his growing flower, his expanding company, Standard Oil, was shut down by the Supreme Court of Ohio. The Standard Oil Trust was accused of monopolizing the refining industry, and it was forced to dissolve into smaller companies. Rockefeller's company would have grown bigger if it wasn't forced to break up. Rockefeller would have been more philanthropic, and it would have benefited more people and institutions.
John D. Rockefeller was one of the most influential businessmen in the history of the United States who rose controversy with his ambitious businesses. Rockefeller was an extremely philanthropic, generous, and successful businessman who founded the humongous company, Standard Oil, and donated a total of $550 million to charitable foundations. However, he was forced to dissolve his company on May 15, 1911. Rockefeller left a lasting legacy and set examples for businessmen to follow and to create their own path to riches and success.
John D. Rockefeller's road to his vast wealth was a bumpy road full of triumph and tragedy. His life can be expressed by wealth, controversy, his childhood, monopolization, and his benevolence. His legacy lives on through the many causes he supported, and his great-grandchildren carry on his values and shape everyone's moral compass.